Okay, so pumpkin cake. I'm using a butternut squash. You can use a pumpkin or any other kind of squash you like. Obviously this isn't going to go in the cake as is, so I've got to cut it into manageable size portions. I need about 500 grams total, so that is about 800, but I think after I've peeled it that should come down to about the right weight. So I'm just going to take the top off and just take off the peel. You could probably grate it with the peel on. I think if you're grating by hand, then having the peel on might be a little easier. But I'm using the trusty machine, so it's kind of the way you peel an orange. You're doing the posh way where you segment it. Okay, so peeling that has taken it down to 600. So I'm just going to cut this into quarters, which should fit into the feed. Just go that way, I think. I don't mind being a little bit over here because there's a tendency with machine graters for bits to get stuck in the top, so you don't get the full measure of it grated. So bring out the machine. Let's test to see if we can get that in there. Oh yes. Right, so it is going to be slightly noisy. Sure. Clipped in tight. As I said, there's a tendency for a bit to get stuck. So that's me squash all grated. It's not very coarse, it's fairly large grates, but I think that works better. It doesn't break down so much. So the rest of the squash can go into the fridge for later. Now I've got to work on the liquid. So the recipe calls for 300 ml of corn oil, which I find to be a bit too greasy, if that's even possible. So I'm doing part corn oil. This is about 100 ml, just over. And then the rest I'm going to use rapeseed. So that's 300 ml. Seems like a lot, but this is the only fat that's going in. There's no butter or anything. And usually with anything oil based, I do slightly short the total, so I'm being slightly healthier. Right, so that's 300 ml of oil. By all means, use all corn oil if you want to. I just choose not to. And then I want 4 eggs. Ooh. Bit of extra calcium there. Oh, and in. Hands are fading today. 4 eggs. I'll just wash my hands. This this is 250 grams of light muscovado. You can use light brown sugar, doesn't really matter. And I want a splash of vanilla. So 1, 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And then grab a blender. Gone nice and frothy. So now we can move on to the fruit and nuts. So I've got 150 grams of sultanas or thereabouts. That might be a little over the dose because I don't really affect the way it bakes. 100 grams of walnuts. These are already chopped. You can get whole ones and chop them yourself, but it doesn't really matter. And again, you can be a bit generous with those. Don't go crazy because the oils come out of the walnuts and cause problems. Okay, so some walnuts and pumpkin, or not pumpkin, squash. Like I said, you can use any kind of pumpkin you like. You can use your poor jack-o'-lantern when you're finished, if it's not been outside for too long. And this is the zest of a lemon and half an orange. And then I want to juice half of this orange. So beware of any pips, it's not occur. Okay, so then I just want to mix that until it's combined. I'll come back to you when I've done that bit. So I've mixed together my fruits, nuts and squish. And it looks wrong, it looks like it's never going to work. There's a thing that happens with any cake that's got vegetables in it. Always, as a stage where it looks like it's not going to work. But don't panic. So here I've got 400 grams of plain flour. And I need to do a double raising agent. So I need 1.5 teaspoons of bicarb and 1.5 of baking powder. Now up until this point you can be quite slow with it, you can take your time, but as soon as the baking powders meet liquid they start to react, so then you need to work quite fast. So I'll keep them separate for as long as possible. I'm using ground mixed spice. You can use pumpkin pie spice, entirely up to you. So 2 teaspoons of that, and then some cinnamon. Need about a tablespoon, which is 3 teaspoons, give or take. Don't mind this being a bit excessive. Right, so that's all my dries now going into here, and I've already prepped my cake tins. They're silicone so they don't stick, but you still line them anyway just in case, and that also helps things to release. So you can sift it in if you want to. If not, fold until it becomes nice smooth-ish batter. Ideally you want it to be slightly lumpy still. It's going to be lumpy because of the fruits and things and the squash in here. But if you've got the odd patch of flour, it's not a problem. In fact, it's actually slightly better if you've got slightly unmixed flour. Not completely, but you just don't want to overmix this. Make sure you get into the bottom. And then these go in the oven for around about 40-45 minutes, depending of course on how strong your oven is, how dependable the heat. at gas mark 4, which is 180. Okay, so whilst my cake's baking, I'm going to sort out some of the decoration. So I've got here some desiccated coconut. That's 50 grams or so. Not too concerned about measuring on that one. And I've also got some flaked coconut, and this is kind of larger pieces like that. I'll stick some of that in there as well. And about equal proportions. Now I'm just going to put this on under a low heat, pretty much as low as this one will go, and you can't leave this alone, you have to keep it moving, otherwise it will burn. Okay, so this has been going for about 5 minutes. You can see it's got nice and golden. The desiccated coconut is going to get more colour obviously than the flake. So it's just a case of a couple more seconds just to make sure that everything is evenly coloured. You must keep it moving at all times, and do not be tempted to turn the temperature up if it's taking too long. So there, I'm about right there. So it's fairly rich in colour. Any more than that, it's going to start to burn. So heat off, and I'm tipping this onto silicone mat, silicone tray, on a tray, just so that it will cool off evenly. So continue cooking. Just going to spread it out a bit, and then leave that to one side until it's absolutely cold before I put it into a container. If you put it in, so I've got all my coconut here. I let it cool completely before I stuck it in the pot. So I just want to sieve out the larger bits of flakes from the smaller bits of desiccated. So I'm just dropping that into a colander. By all means use homemade. I've got jars that have been homemade but haven't been opened yet, so I'm using what's already been opened. This one's shredless, so having them both gives it a little bit of texture. Just kind of mash it on and then work it down to a fairly even layer. Don't really want to get it over the edge, don't want it to eke out too much. So it's fairly even. That one going different. Always keep your jars. So sometimes I put a layer of buttercream of frosting in here, but because I've got marmalade I don't want to add too much to the middle. So just going to lift this one up and flip it over like that. Just because I'm slightly worried this might be a little high, I'm just going to measure up with the lid. I think I'm okay. My cakes tend to come up a little higher than I expect. I think just to be on the safe side, I'm going to just have a trim to flatten off this hump here. So, keeping the knife flat and just circling around so it takes up an even layer. Gently through the middle. Fairly small dollop or two, just on the top so I can seal in this open patch. It's going to pick up crumbs, but that's kind of the point. Trying not to mix the crummy stuff in with the clean stuff as much as possible. Just so that's covered up the open bit first. So I've also got crummy bits on here. So I'll just take a knife off and de-crummy knife. Spatula, whatever you want to call it. Right, so now I'm going to start very carefully putting some frosting around the outside. This isn't particularly thin, so this is going to be somewhat difficult. This frosting doesn't really appreciate being spread this thin. This is more of a blobbing icing, spreading icing, but I like it anyway. So I'm just going to gradually work around until I've covered all the sides as smoothly as I can. So I've given this a good overall cover. If you want it particularly smooth, put it in the fridge for half an hour or so and then go over it again with a warm knife, and that will smooth it off, no problem. But as it is, it's going to be covered in coconut, so I don't think it really matters if it's not particularly smooth. Now here comes a moment of madness. You need to lift up your cake, take a pinch of coconut and just kind of spray it. Depends how much you dare to tip. See how much you can get on the side. You can do it in your hand, but I find that that kind of melts the frosting a little bit too much. Just pinch and shake. Try and be as even as you can. Like that. Now for my flakes, I'm going to arrange them sort of around the cake, sticking up in different angles. So there's a little bit of texture, a little bit of interest, which hopefully won't get squashed by the top of the box. Okay, so my camera died again as I was finishing that up, so I'm not quite sure how much recorded, so I'll see that when I come to do the editing. But this is the last slice of my cake, and it came out pretty well, except for after a day or so, the marmalade that I used, the shop bought marmalade, it kind of all dissolved and has made the middle of the cake a little bit kind of weird and bitter, but it's still good cake. So, this is a great cake for using up your leftover jack-o'-lantern or any other pumpkin or squash you've got hanging around. It works well as a cupcake as well. That mix will get you around about 28 or 30 decent sized cupcakes, or 12 or 18 kind of muffin size. So just adapt the cooking time and it's fabulous. So that was pretty much my birthday cake, which I'm not complaining about. I would like a year when I don't make my own birthday cake, but I will have mine. So I'll see you next week for a 2-minute skills, and I'm kind of working on shutting down things in the shed for the winter. So the next one, the 2-minute skill, will be a servicing sewing machine and getting that sorted out and packed away. So I don't intend to be hanging about down here for too long in the winter. So see you next week.